changed his mind about something else now. It's about austerity. That shouldn't be a surprise. Everybody has changed their mind. The idea that the IMF has constantly been saying you must go for growth, spending is it, it's just simply not true. The IMF was very, very keen on austerity. It and the EU are very keen on austerity, particularly for other European countries. So the idea that suddenly we have a consistent position from the IMF that we must take seriously, they've changed their mind because there's no growth. Clegg's changed his mind because there's no growth. I have no idea whether growth is possible, but I don't think you lot do either.
Man in the pink shirt in the second row there on the right.
The government said it wants to keep reducing the borrowing. After you've decimated the British forces by at least 30,000 very soon, private sector and public sector losing thousands of jobs. These are all taxpayers, bear in mind. Yeah. Opening the doors to European countries to come into our country very shortly. Where is the money going to come from?
Anna Suber, do you want to answer that?
Can I just say that I think we may well be having a question on defence. I'm second-guessing I accept.
You haven't been reading my question.
No, I haven't. But importantly, if you look at it escaped in all the noise about Europe, but actually our rates of employment are actually going up. We have the highest employment rates that we've had in many, many, many times. We've created a million new jobs.
Not full taxpayers' jobs.
No, they're not all part-time jobs, sir. They are, and also our youth unemployment figures are also, again, youth unemployment is falling. We have a million youngsters in apprenticeships.
No.
All right.
I can't take 6 questions.
The woman over here on the left. We'll try and get... Anna said she can't take 6 questions at once, so we'll try and get 6 separately. You.
Back to Menzies. I agree with the fact that the interest rates are at their lowest that they've ever been now, but the cost of living and the borrowing that all of us are getting into now in debt, the fear is the moment the government, any government, increases those interest rates, we're all pretty doomed, actually, because we're up to our limit now, just trying to survive.
Okay. Well, and the woman in white there, inspector. Yeah.
You're talking about sort of relaxing austerity measures and investing in infrastructure. What's this about investing in infrastructure when there are people who can't afford to put food on the table? You're capping benefit rises when they're already not enough for people to live on. You know.
Sorry, we're capping benefit at £26,000 a year.
The benefit rises.
It's a 1% rise. 1% rise.
Yes, that's ridiculous.
1% rise in
benefit. That's not enough.
All right, I want to go to Angela Epstein, just back to the original question, whether the government's programme of spending cuts is still credible.
Well, I mean, I'll be quite honest, and I find a lot of this baffling, because when politicians speak, and I don't know if you'll agree with me, they tend to hide behind big words like fiscal, and I say this as the wife of a chartered accountant as well. But the fact is, out here in the real world, people want to know the reality of how they are going to cope with a time of severe recession, when people want to be focused on the creation of jobs, on economic growth, whether they can put food on the table, whether their local hospital is going to close, whether our military will be capable of defending itself. And I think it matters very little when the rhetoric, hot air as it is, goes backwards and forwards. Is it growth? Is it austerity? In real terms, people need to know what the government will do and what the proposals will be. So will it mean that, you know, by the end of the week they'll have less money in their pocket than they had the week before? I think to just sort of talk in broad terms about whether austerity matters or not, why don't they do things like ask civil servants to take a 10% cut in their salaries, for example?
We did actually freeze civil servants.
Not freeze, take a pay cut.
And in the Ministry of Defence, they're sacking 25,000 civil servants.
And what about...
The public sector's paying a price as well.
Yes, it is.
All right, let's leave the military for a moment. We may come to that. Let me go to the woman in the second row from the back, and then we'll move on. Yes.
I'm just wondering how the government can possibly retain any credibility when the cuts in services are hitting the people who are worst off the hardest. For those of us that work in public health and social care services, we're already seeing a rise in people with mental health breakdowns, a rise in addictions with drug and alcohol, and also a rise in homelessness. And this creates a situation where we need greater investment in public sector services, the ones that were subject and victim to the cuts in the first instance.
you said you couldn't take 6 questions at once. Can you just answer that specific point, and then we must move on?
Well, I have to say, it's not what I recognise at all. I accept... No, not at all. Not at all. There have been cuts in public expenditure. But if you look at many councils across this country, even in very difficult times, they have managed to maintain a level of service which is excellent and which we should be proud of, even in difficult times. So to paint a picture as bleak as that, I don't believe is a true reflection of what's happening in the rest of the country.
Which is based on the goodwill of the workers who work so many extra hours every week to keep these services going.
All right, we'll move on. Mark Tappin, please. Mark Tappin.